You're a woman who knows that she's here to lead a movement, that there is real power in the unique mission that you came here to lead. And you might be leading, but right now, you know, when you speak, you're not really speaking with the true power that's available to you. And you probably think it's your throat chakra that you need to work on, that's going to be the key to unlock the potency of your words. My guess is you've already been working on your throat chakra and you're still not embodying the power of your leadership, of your words, of your presence. You know, you're just not landing the way that you're meant to. So if this is you, buckle up, because today's episode is the episode that you need to hear. Welcome back to the Gelen Maiden podcast, the home of erotic leadership, where your pleasure is the pathway to your power and your frequency the key to unlock your millions. I'm Gelen, and together we'll activate your eroticism, where you'll rise with undeniable power and presence. Let's get into today's episode. Right now, there is an epidemic of women who believe that opening their throat chakra is going to be the thing that allows them to speak with the power and the potency that somewhere deep within their body, they know they're here to lead with. And it's not. Because you've already done that. If you're a woman who is starting to open herself spiritually, my guess is you've already opened your throat chakra. And it is really the first step, because the most powerful thing that a woman can do to speak with that real embodied presence and power is to open up the pathway to her cervix and to constantly give herself an orgasm. Yeah, you heard it, an orgasm. Whenever I have anything, whether I'm facilitating at Burning Man, running retreats, holding group calls, the number one ritual I go to, which is like my unapologetic practice, is my pleasure. And I get women who come to the retreat and they're like, how do you get up and hold space like that? You're in such flow. And guess what? This kind of leadership, it's not found in someone else's framework. It's not in strategy. It's not in mindset. It's in the ancient feminine practice of pleasure. Now, because of the patriarchy, because of the church, because of all the societal conditioning that women go through, we have become severed from these ancient feminine practices. Even modern spirituality is masculine based. It focuses on consciousness, the mind, logic, detachment. That's the masculine path. However, the feminine path is the path of experience. It's where you have a spiritual experience through your embodiment. And the reason that it has really been severed from the collective, because it was fucking illegal. Women would literally be killed for gathering in sacred circle, for practicing their sacred feminine practices. So it has been wiped from this consciousness. Thank the goddess that it still existed in the consciousness of the cosmos, in the consciousness of the earth. And that is why people like me are here to bring back really ancient feminine wisdom, but in a modern adaptation, because the ancients knew that women were the portals and the conduit to connect with divine consciousness. The temples in Egypt, the underground caves in Malta, the ancient pagan practices were all devoted to the goddess. And guess what? It wasn't about going to fucking church. or meditating and sitting in stillness until you can completely disembody as a way to connect to the divine. It was through sitting in ceremony with music, with dance, with pleasure, with accessing your dream state that women tapped into their spiritual and creative power. And this is why so many women who lead go to these masculine practices of meditation, of opening the throat chakra. They will want to speak publicly and they'll go and find the coach who can train them to be perfect. But it's never really embodied, because while they've done all this, they've followed a more masculine path and they haven't tapped into the ancient feminine practice of pleasure. Because the feminine, and if you're a woman listening to this podcast, the way that you lead is very different to how the masculine leads. You are here to literally experience, to lead from a place of embodiment, not so much from a place of strategy, of logic, but for you to really tap into your true leadership potential is you learning how to connect to these ancient feminine practices. So for about 3 weeks straight, I really felt like I was forcing these podcasts, like something just wasn't landing. And now in the background, I've got a lot of stuff going on right now. I'm rebuilding my business after a tower year. I am in the middle of an international relocation, so I'm working through lawyers, bureaucracy. There's a lot going on. But I just felt like something wasn't landing with these podcasts. And because there was so much going on in the background, they felt more forced because I was coming and leading from my mind. So I did something that most women won't do. But this is my number one ritual to go to when I want to lead from a place of power, embodiment, and unshakable self-trust. I cleared my morning, and the first thing I did was give myself an orgasm. And all of a sudden, everything flowed. I dropped out of my head into my body. I sat down to record the podcast. One take, boom. I felt how powerful that episode was. I felt like I was speaking with the frequency of power, of potency, and I knew that I had accessed that place. Now, this didn't come from me sitting down and going, I'm going to plan this podcast perfectly. No, it came from me getting out of my head, going into my orgasm and dropping back into the body. Because when you have a practice of pleasure, of orgasm, you open up the pathway to your cervix. And this opens up your channels to speak with power, potency, and clarity. It's where you speak and your words don't have that wobble. They're undeniable. And guess what? I gave myself another orgasm today. That's why I'm speaking like this, right? Because the number one practice that I prioritize at every retreat that I've run and every Burning Man that I've facilitated and every workshop and every group program that I run is the first thing I do that day that I have that is devote my morning to pleasure. Because I know that when I devote my morning to pleasure, it's when I tap into my power. It's where I speak and my words are felt. It's where I facilitate spaces that are expansive, because literally I become a conduit for sacred consciousness, for the goddess to flow through me. And this is really the path of the feminine. I don't sit there in meditation and get all my fucking chakras in line. I do ground to the earth because I have a lot of fire energy and it can become very hot, let's just say, if I don't. And it can become a little bit chaotic. But I go to the sacred feminine practice of pleasure. And that allows me to facilitate experiences that consistently blow my clients' minds. It allows me to create experiences where people go, holy fuck, I don't know what you just did, but that was powerful. I've never experienced that before. I'm not actually doing anything, but I am tapping into the power of my orgasm, my pleasure, as a way to lead with confidence, undeniable trust. When you prioritize your pleasure, as you reset the nervous system, you flush the lymphatic system, and you open up your pathways to your throat. So if you're a woman who knows that she's here to lead a big movement, and you know that you're speaking right now, you're leading, but it's just not landing in the potency that you know deep inside your womb that you have access to, I would love to hear from you. This is the work that we do in Erotic Evolution. Women tap into their pleasure, their orgasm, as a way to lead with undeniable power and influence, because it's these sacred practices, this re-emerging of the feminine, that is literally going to be the key to the next feminine leaders who are here to change the consciousness of the world. So if that is you, get into the room where power's not performed to experience more pleasure and watch how you actually become confident. And it's not something that you feel like you have to perform or fake, because you simply are.